what's up? I'm Daemonxel, and this is your Eve Echoes Community News, where we take a deep dive into all the happenings of the week. But first, you know what I'm going to do. It's what I do every week. That's right, I'm going to ask you to go ahead and smash that subscribe button, ring that bell, share and like the video, of course, so you can stay up to date with everything I do here on the channel. So we have a lot to talk about. A lot has actually gone down this week. We have a new roadmap laying out the rest of 2023 from the developers. We have the possible creation of turning this beloved game we have into a Gacha collector version of this game. We have battles between a war between Meow and AOA, the first T4 Citadel that has been captured, as well as words from Sandman, old leadership of OG, explaining everything that has happened before he left, up to basically what's going on now. So, let's dive right in, right? Let's jump right into the roadmap for 2023. Now, I may make a separate video on this once we get more detailed information about everything here on the list, but for now, I want to give you the information that we have. So, we have for October through December a couple things coming to the game. We have the Kavala Kale Avala Expanse, we have a balance adjustment, as well as the Interstellar Bazaar. So, what is the Kavala Expanse? Well, this is... Now, I don't know which direction we're going here. I'm not sure if the Bazaar first is October, then November, December, or if it starts from the Kavala Expanse down. But let's start with the Interstellar Bazaar. We're going to get new dynamic nanocores. We're going to get new popular elements theme, whatever that may be. I guess we'll have to wait and see. But, you know, it's the Bazaar, so open up your wallets. That's what's going to happen. Now, in the balance adjustment, they are going to bring in new modules, new rigs, and new special units. They said they're going to improve of the pilot's feedback. And of course, the Kavala Expanse, which everyone's excited for, is the opening up of the new drone lands, something called Needlejack, and a different rule and enemy. What could that possibly be? But because this information is also being given out on the Chinese server, and they get information before us, the update looks like it may not be all that it's cracked up to be. That's right. Let's bring this in here. So, I talked before about the game introducing new elements of like a Gacha style game or a hero collector. If you're not familiar with those, it's where you open up packs to get, like a super rare, like an SSR character. Well, as you can see through these ships, it's basically the same thing here. Now, if you are wondering, if you do like Gacha style games, shameless plug here, I do run another channel, for Heroes of Middle-earth, Lord of the Rings. It is a Gacha collector game. I do have another channel if you guys are interested, but let's get back to this. So, we do have some images, and I've also they've also been translated. Here's another version of one. Here's like an SSR Rattlesnake. Let me pull up the translated ones. As you can see here, this is a Sidewinder SSR Class 1. Let's see, and here it is before. Let's see, this one's like free after 20 plus hours. Let me see, let me zoom in here. See what it's saying. See, protocol knowledge base, whatever that is. It says, plus 10 constructions will produce a ship blueprint. I can't read that, it's too small. But, as you can see, what is going on with our beloved game? I have no idea, no one knows. We're waiting for the developers to give us more information. But we do have access to new modules, new, bases for mining. There's going to be new materials coming to the game. It is exciting, but how is this going to play out? Is this going to be like a game within a game? Is it going to be something completely different? As you can see here, there's different kinds of ships. I'm at a loss for words, basically, of what's going on, how this game is either being changed or how this event is going to be. It is something completely different. Here's the new region they're talking about, which is going to have new PvE, new PvP for The center here says Polar Night, and as we zoom in on other aspects, like group, order, piety, it's very, very weird. We don't have the fully translated, this obviously through Google Lens. I see order, domination, faithful, money, Polar Night. So, and it looks like a campaign version here. So, I don't know, guys. I honestly, I know I'm reporting on this, but I don't have much more information than what you're seeing here. Here is, another thing is that the Chinese server has before us. Apparently they have now wormholes in HiSec, is what the screenshot's supposed to be. But there is another screenshot, let me pull it up here, of a new method of fighting. Now, we're only got small screenshots here, so I'm super zoomed in, so it's I do apologize for the quality of the image, but as you can see here, it's allowing you to have a thumb joystick, and it's a kind of different interface on how the ships, and now I don't even know what ship this is, to tell you the truth, but as you can see, it's a whole new interface form of the game. Again, lost for words. I don't know how I feel about this. I really, really don't. Could this breathe life into it? Yes, it could be, but it could also be like an entirely different game. I honestly don't know. Apparently, the on the Chinese side, they're hating it. They're actually sounding off about how they do not like these changes. But yeah, as you can see here, we might be going into a Gacha style version of the game. Take it for what you will. Let's completely move on. Let's move on to actually community news. What's going on in the community? Let's start off with, let's go to OG. So, I got contacted out of the blue by Sandman, who I haven't heard from for some time, because I know he took time off of the game. He quit the game to do more family things and just, you know, have a life, unlike the rest of us. And he wanted to give basically a history lesson on OG, because OG is on its last legs, if not already dead at this point. But we'll get into that. But he stated that he's quit playing Echoes. He's heard of a few people trying to minimize OG's impact on the game, and recently, because OG has been getting hit pretty hard from what he's heard. He said he's not really up to date because he hasn't had any contact with him in a few months. He wanted to set the record straight that OG was the invisible perpetrator to the big wars after GenFed oppressed OG for the first time in the Content Coalition War. The first big war being between Silent and No. He says, I never publicly spoke about this, but if you remember, Silent was at war with Fireflies, and Fireflies were friendly with No, fully supported, essentially a proxy war for No. So Silent and No were at war through those. He says, NetEase then announced Capitals. The Pangen C22, or Pangen 22, was an active entity who had just crushed the Content Coalition, with Silent setting it in stone. I reached out to Silent leadership and asked them what they would do if Pangen 22, who just defeated the Content Coalition, invaded them next, because Pangen 22 had started to show potential signs of support for Fireflies. And I ultimately convinced them that before Capitals were released and Pangen 22 grew too big, that they needed to work things out with No, who they had been fighting for 6+ months for the greater good. Now, I do remember this war. I was in OG at the time, and at the right near the end of the war, the corporation I was in did leave OG and did join Genesis for that time. Let's get back into this. He goes the next saying that at the time he was also the financier for the No contract with the Content Coalition, who at the time was the biggest contractor with No. You also have to remember that Pangen 22 had stated that they would never take a contract from No, and Silent wasn't really involved at the point because they were focused on their war with Fireflies, who were also allied with No. So I convinced Silent, or No leadership, to meet on the mutual terms or goal of taking down Pangen 22 before the release of Capitals. This is also the reason why a few people in upper OG leadership were immediately invited upon the creation of the Banana Blender server, but were removed quite quickly at the request because OG wasn't technically supposed to be involved in that war, because I had told Silent and No that while they were fighting Pangen in the north, that OG and Void would be fighting C-22 in the south, and split their defenses in separate wars, which is why I referred to it as Pangen 22, and many others refer to it as just the Pangen War. We covered that intensively on this channel here. As for their initial war against Silent by Crabco, I had a conversation with Meliodas many months before the war against Silent kicked off, and the CC was formed, and talked through what I saw as the biggest endgame threat of Echoes, which foresaw Silent taking control of Nullsec due to its size, which by single leadership was the largest of the time. Good on them. From mergers of the past wars and capital capabilities. Now, it is splitting. I know it's jumping around pretty quickly here. Sorry, I keep pausing for the yawning. It's been a very, very long day so far. But yeah, Capitals actually came out before Pangen 22. Well, Pan wasn't around anymore. Right? Pantheon got absorbed. Well, it didn't really absorb, but yeah, it was Genesis War, even though they were referred to as Pangen 22, but Pantheon had been down at this point, and Capitals did come out before the end of Genesis, before the server war with Silence. So, let's just go on that. He goes on to state that I told Meliodas that the single factor would be, which would determine the success of the war would be if No and Brethren Court were to go to war with Silent without charging everyone else in the game ISK for the merc contracts, because Brethren Court and No were both willing to go to war with Silent for ISK, and both agreed with me about the concern of Silent controlling the outcome of the game. Again, the most massive group in the game at the time after the fall of Pangen 22 was Silent. Again, good on them. So eventually, Brethren Court and No declare war on Silent. We all remember that, right? And then everyone else, surprisingly, piled on and went to war with Silent. Like I talked about with Brethren Court and No, because if they were willing to go to war with Silent without taking a contract, remember that time that the Mercs went to war with Silent without any contract for the first time ever? Then it would be a righteous cause. Everyone would get behind it, because we all know Mercs rarely did anything without a price. Then No swapped sides. Good on them if it was for as much ISK as I heard, and even if not, it makes for a good story and memory. He asked me to go ahead and fact check. I have not received any replies. I mean, I've been very busy, so I don't have any counter arguments or replies from anyone in No. I haven't talked to Tahini. I haven't talked to Michael JD from Silent. So I do not have any rebuttals at this time. I will do a follow-up next week once I do reach out to them. He goes on to say that he's available for anyone that, if he wants to answer any questions or anything, if we want to do any interviews. I'm going to recommend to Rambo and Taylor Rick to try to get him on the podcast. But he says he doesn't want this to negatively impact whatever OG is doing today, because I honestly don't know what MI and everyone else are doing. But every now and then, someone from my OG days sends me a screenshot about something on Reddit. And recently, it seemed like because OG was going through some hard times, that they would minimize the impact that OG has had on the game. And because I've quit playing, I thought I would just be open and honest about what I and OG did in the game before leadership transitioned to whatever OG is doing today. And some of it is really unknown to most of the community, because I was careful with the information and our involvement in things that I didn't want to negatively impact OG. But at this point, I'm no longer involved, and OG is a really cool place that has had a long-term impact on the game. I hope the game can get back to the point where people like OG and everyone in the game can genuinely look at each other, win or lose, and good fight one another like we did in our past engagements when I was playing. He also states that we also had a massive impact by OG forming the Content Coalition and fighting Pangen 22 and Silent, in which OG Void were the only survivors, but that's a completely different war and time frame in the game. So there you have it. That's a message from Sandman, the founder and ex-leadership of OG. At this point right now, OG is kind of dead. In fact, that's going to transition us right into the next story about the first T4 Citadel that has been taken. That's right, the first T4 Citadel has fallen in Wicked Creek in System 1L Tag 0EK or OEK. I'm not sure if that's. I think it's no. I think it's no. Yeah. Now. Send is the corporation that is now holding this T4 Citadel. The previous occupant was Skynet Federation under the OG banner, and this does mark a server first on the first T4 Citadel to be taken. Currently, there is no video on this fight, but I can give you some stats. And that was that the Super Fleet was on grid for this, and the Intosing did take about 40 minutes to take the Citadel. It was I did hear it was a pretty good fight. Again, I don't have much to go on. It was just kind of announced earlier today. Unfortunately, I was not able to make the fight. I missed a lot of the good fights due to work and everything else. But yeah. So this was the first T4 Citadel to come down. I'm sure they're going to talk more about it on the special episode of Rambo's show, noon Pacific time this Sunday. So it's more EU friendly this episode. But yeah, there you have it, the first T4 Citadel. Now, of course, the war is going strong up in Wicked Creek, moving on to get rid of the rest of OG space, and then taking on Void as well. But this isn't the only fighting that is going on in the universe right now. In fact, CRB today got in a fight with AOA over a T1 Citadel, and the fight was 20 CRB versus 200 AOA and Void. Now, obviously these odds were stacked against CRB, but can I just say that ERB won the fight and killed the T1 Citadel? I mean, that's kind of amazing with those odds stacked against it, right? They did go ahead and kill that T1 Citadel, and they were able to fight against 200. Now, again, this is not the only fighting. In fact, there is a war brewing right now between Meow and AOA. Let me see if I can pull up Meow here. There we go. Now we got the correct banner up now. Now, there is a dispute right now between between Meow and AOA. They set up a buffer zone, which I'm told that Val from Meow did break the agreement, and now AOA is currently staged in Fountain to invade and take down Meow. Now, there is also fighting in Vale and Geminate between Meow and AOA as well. So there is fighting currently right now all over the map. That is healthy PvP throughout the server. And moving into another segment here, obviously we're getting close to Halloween time, and it brings up a sore point in my my gaming history on this, because EO always has their Crimson Harvest, right? And we have that much beloved event, our Halloween event, that we had the first year in 2020, and it has not come back ever since. Now, I know I'm being told that the reason it's not coming back is possibly because of coding issues, or it's not being able to be monetized. And I'm told that no one really liked the event. In fact, Benzie actually chimed in on this when I asked the devs. Let me bring up my conversation here. All right, we're loaded up. We'll bring it on over here. All right, I'm like, okay, this is the third Halloween to come without the event. Why can't we just re-release the event that the entire community loves? And you know, as you can see, I even go into, is it the only reason because it's not monetized? Even though everyone's been asking for this event, we've been literally asking in the CC channel every year for this to come back. And, you know, I got Rambo chiming in saying it could be due to technical and scheduling difficulties because we have this big update in the roadmap coming up. Granted, Mario chimes in saying that maybe it's a coding issue. The code has changed over time, most probably because they have to recode the whole thing and only the graphics can be reused. That could be a thing. And then Benzie comes in, who has quit the game, right? He has quit the game. He's left, yet he's still in the CC channel. I'm not really bashing on him, but he basically goes on saying the community didn't love it, or at least the whales didn't. Very little monetization, and it gave griefers too much power. Read the feedback from the whales, and you get a different story. And remember that they don't care about us; they only care about the whales. So yes, salty views again. I don't understand why he's still, if he's quitting the game, just get rid of your roles, dude. Just come off the server. If you're just gonna cover EO, just cover EO. It's all good. I mean, no personal animosity, but if you're off the game, you don't need to really give feedback on the game. But this is not why. I've heard the direct opposite. I've heard the community loves this. Griefers. It didn't get it. It was a packaged event that rewarded both PvP and PvE. Yes, it was something for everyone. It wasn't instanced. It was random out there in the universe, so we don't have to worry about instancing the ships. I say bring it back. It's the most fun that I've had in any event in the game. I know a ton of people have told me they love that event. I honestly don't care if the whales didn't like it. 98% of every other event caters to the whales. So give us back this one time a year. That's all I'm asking. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. If there's a story that you guys know that you want me to cover, go ahead and hit me up on Discord. Other than that, remember to, if you need more news in your life, to go ahead over to the Echoes of New Eden podcast with Taylor, Rick, and Rambo. Well, Rambo and Taylor, Rick, really. Of course, sometimes I am there. There's a whole panel of staff that works hard on the stories and the show every week, and it is the most reliable Eve Echoes podcast you can listen to. Usually it's Sundays at well, it's usually 9 p.m. Eastern my time, or 8 p.m. I don't know. UTC F's me up every time. You guys know. Three years in now, I still can't do UTC math. But like I said, this week is something different. This week it's going to be 12 noon Pacific time. It's just to be more cater friendly, more to the EU crowd. But so if you can make it, that'd be great. Remember, if you want to be part of the live studio audience, jump on that server and get your spot in the room, in that channel. If not, there is an overflow on YouTube that you can watch and comment on and just be part of the audience. So other than that, have a great week. Have a great weekend. Fly safe. And remember, here we're always one vision, one purpose, one friend.